Thank you so much, and it's an honor to be here. Let me start. How many of you are bummed out by the news right now? Why do you watch it? Seriously. Let me tell you that we're living during the most extraordinary time ever in human history. And my goal in this next 30 minutes is to give you an understanding of why that's happening. My goal is also to let you know where the future is going. Because the conversations I have in Silicon Valley are important for me to share with you here together. So let's start. I want to talk about the exponential world ahead. Now, every year I put on a program for 360 CEOs, and they come from around the world. And I spend all year preparing for this called Abundance 360. And my goal is to be looking for and finding the cutting-edge exponential change and deliver them to those CEOs. And then online to folks like yourself, so that you understand how the world is changing and how do you use it. So let me share with you the following. I think you should understand this in your heart and in your gut, that the world is changing at a faster and faster rate, right? In the next decade, it's going to make today look like we're standing still. The only constant is change, and the rate of change is increasing. You know, the conversations that I have in Silicon Valley go something like this. People have no idea how fast the world is changing. And it's important that we understand it. Because my goal is that you're excited about the future, not scared by it. And you're excited about the future when you understand what's coming down the pike. When you understand what's coming down the pike is going to make the life of yourself, your kids, your parents, and the world a better world. And so my goal at the end of this conversation is that you feel that way. So let's start. I want to share with you how, in fact, the rate of acceleration is itself accelerating, and why that's happening. So the first thing is that we have had, for the last 110 years, exponential growth in computational power. Don't worry about the numbers here. It's the fact that we're building faster computers that allow us to build the next generation of faster computers and the next generation of faster computers. And no matter what's going on, it continues. You can't see World War I or World War II or the recession on these points on this slide. Right? It is a continuous force. And when it continues, something interesting happens. You see, by 2023, what is that? 6 years from now, when you go down to Best Buy, if they still exist, and buy a $1,000 computer, that computer is now calculating at the rate of the human brain, 10 to the 16 cycles per second. Right? But that's just the beginning, because 25 years later, now $1,000 buys you the computational power of the entire human race. Now your work gets really easy, right? So that's interesting. Computation is getting free, ubiquitous, everywhere, on all the time, more and more powerful at an exponential growth curve. And the fact of the matter is, every one of you, if you wanted to, could go get access to more computational power than the Congress or the government had just 20 years ago on Amazon Web. Now, what's going on, the next thing that's accelerating, is that computers are getting faster. We all know that. Hopefully you've heard of Moore's Law. My wife calling me. I was going to, but... So the next thing happening is that faster, cheaper computers are the oxygen in the room. It's the growth medium on top of which everything is being built. And on top of faster, cheaper computers, we're getting sensors, networks, AI, robotics, 3D printing, synthetic biology, augmented and virtual reality, blockchain. All of these things, all of these exponential technologies are getting faster as computational power is getting faster, right? Pretty obvious. And you can be an expert in any one of these, and perhaps some of you are. But it's not enough, because these technologies aren't operating on their own. You see, it's the combination of augmented reality and AI and blockchain that's coming up with new business models. And it's not even the technology that's interesting just by itself. It's the new business models coming out of this. So computers are making all these other technologies faster and cheaper and better. Now, one of the things I think about a lot, and I want to share with you a term that I really hope that you'll take to heart. It's called an interface moment. I'll take you back to 1993. Before 1993, there was this thing called the ARPANET, the Advanced Research and Projects Agency. ARPA was the precursor of DARPA, Advanced Research Projects Agency. Okay. And ARPA built a network between all the computers throughout the United States. And this network was the precursor of the World Wide Web. But until someone by the name of Mark Andreessen came up with what's called Mosaic, that then became Netscape, no one could use it. And so what Mark Andreessen did was he created a user interface that allowed anybody to use the ARPANET to build businesses and to build all kinds of revenue-generating capabilities. And that interface moment, that moment when entrepreneurs were able to interface with ARPA, exploded revenue. 1993, 26 websites. 1994, 10,000 websites. 1995, 10 million websites. It's exponential growth. And then there was something called the AppStore. I want you to imagine millions of phones out there, and then Apple releases the AppStore, which was an interface moment in which entrepreneurs could build revenue on top of iPhones. And billions have been created there. So I'm searching for interface moments, but guess what? The biggest interface moment in the world is about to happen. And it's called AI. And we're all going to have a version of Jarvis within the next 10 years, right? That's the coolest AI I know out there, where you talk to your AI and you say, listen, I really would love to 3D print a device that could hold this phone and could do it, and you can describe what's in your mind. You don't have to know CAD/CAM designs. You don't have to know how to do any of that. And AI will take what you desire and turn it into something. AI is going to be your ultimate interface moment. So what else is going to be accelerating the world? More connections, more brains online. So check this out. Zuckerberg is planning global coverage with drones and satellites. Google with balloons and satellites. Paul Jacobs, Richard Branson, Greg Weiler are deploying a 900 satellite constellation that will cover the globe. SpaceX, a 4,425 satellite constellation is going to cover the globe. Here's what's going on. In 2010, we had 1.8 billion people connected online. Interesting. Today, it's about 3 billion. In 6 years, we're going to have 8 billion people connected online. Every person on the planet is going to be connected. Guess what? This is the biggest thing I know of. 5 billion new humans being connected online that were never connected before. Guess what? It's the biggest business opportunity. 5 billion people who've never bought anything, sold anything, uploaded anything, downloaded anything, have never had connection before. We're about to, increase the amount of customers you have if you're an entrepreneur by 250%. It's extraordinary. And these individuals, these 5 billion new people, they're not going to go to a bank ATM. They're not going to go and buy insurance through a sales agent. They're not going to go to the corner store. It's all going to be digitized. And they're all going to want it right now. So if I were looking at where do I start my next business, I'd be serving these 5 billion people. I'd be getting ready. It's about to be an explosion in the number of individuals looking for services in India and Africa and China and throughout the world. So we're heading towards an extraordinary world ahead where everyone is connected. And by the way, they're not connected like you and I were. Remember at 9600 baud in the earliest days? They're being connected at a gigabit per second. And these 5 billion people have access to the world's information on Google and Baidu. These 5 billion people have access to, amazing computational power and AI. We're about to see an explosion, an acceleration in the amount of innovation out there in the world. right now, during our lives. This is happening. And I don't hear people screaming from the rooftops, oh my God, it's the greatest era of innovation and opportunity ever. Right here. It's being programmed. The billions are being invested right now that are going to be deployed over the next 6 years. We're going to have more sensors. What does that mean? It means that you're going to be able to know anything you want, anytime you want, anywhere you want. Let me explain. Let me drill down here. Today on orbit, there's about 6 private satellite constellations. And these constellations are imaging the Earth, every meter of the Earth, at anywhere from 0.5 meter to 5 meters resolution. And in video. And if you wanted to know what are the sales projections of Toys R Us, you could order up images of the parking lot of Toys R Us and look how many cars are there. And actually predict what their sales are going to be in the quarterly return. If you have competition in a factory in China, you can watch raw material going one end of the factory and finished products coming out the other. But it's not just the satellites, because we're about to see an army of drones. Tens of thousands per city, seeing everything in centimeter resolution. And it's not just the army of drones that are coming imaging everything. It's these autonomous cars. You see these autonomous cars, I've got a Model S and a Model X. I love those cars. They've got, onboard 12 cameras, 8 ultrasonic sensors. And some of these have LiDARs, laser imaging radars on them that see everything. And these cars, millions of them, will see everything going on all the time. And then besides those cars, augmented reality headsets are going to be forward-looking cameras. Here's the point. We're heading towards a world in which you're going to be able to see and know anything you want. It's going to be the quality of the questions you ask that are most important. So if you're a kid who wants to put up a lemonade stand, guess what? You can say, okay, where's the most foot traffic and where's it the hottest and where do I have no competition? And ask your AI, your Jarvis, and Jarvis will gather the information and say, the corner of 4th and Maple, set it up there. That's your best opportunity. So I teach my kids, ask good questions. You're going to be able to know anything you want, so it's the quality of the questions that you ask that's so important. The data is all there. We just can't access it yet. But we will very soon. How would you like to be 1,000 times smarter? How would you love to have 1,000,000 times the memory capacity? Anybody here not want that? I do. Well, there are at least 5 companies investing hundreds of millions to billions of dollars to connecting our brains with the cloud. Right? So what does that mean? It means like when you think about a question, right now when you think about it, your brain, back up, your brain is a connection of 100 billion neurons. That's what your brain is. And that 100 billion neurons have 100 trillion synaptic connections. Those are the numbers if you want to memorize them. They're fun numbers to know. And in those synaptic connections are everything you've ever learned and memorized. And when you query your brain with a question like, what's 9 times 6? It's 54. Great. That's memorized in there. But very soon we're going to be able to actually think and query the cloud and know what the answer is. Right? You've got Facebook. You've got Elon Musk. You've got Brian Johnson, you've got AMD, you've got a number of other companies investing huge amounts of money to connect your brain to the cloud. Ray Kurzweil, who's my business partner, my co-founder of Singularity University, a great friend who's got an 86% accuracy rate on his predictions, predicts that we're going to have brain-computer interface of this level by the mid-2030s. Let me remind you what the date is. It's 2017. That's like 18 years from now. Remember where you were in the year 2000? Guess what? What's it going to be like when you can know anything you want and think and have the answer? It's extraordinary. So this is going to accelerate the future, big time. 8 billion geniuses way beyond Einstein on this planet. What's that feel like? Another thing that's going to accelerate the future is more wealth and more moonshots. So I have the pleasure of working with these individuals through the XPRIZE Foundation, through Singularity University. And what's extraordinary is that they've been able to create tremendous wealth younger in their lives than any other time in human history. And because of that, they are now focused on taking extraordinary moonshots. So what is a moonshot? A moonshot is where you go 10 times bigger in your life, 10 times bigger in your business, while the rest of the world is going 10%. Right? You can always do a little bit better. You can go 10% bigger by working on Friday or Saturday night or getting a new piece of software or something else, but going 10 times bigger is a different game. It's starting with a clean sheet of paper and reimagining the future. It's what Elon did with Tesla and with SpaceX. It's what Larry and Sergey did with the web. They went 10 times bigger by doing something crazy. Right? Write this down. The day before something is a breakthrough, it's a crazy idea. Right? The day before something is truly a breakthrough, it's a crazy idea. So where in your life do you have permission to brainstorm and think about crazy ideas? Right? Most of us in our family, our spouses, our coworkers, they shoot you down when you come up with a crazy idea. They say, that's ridiculous. That will never happen. What are you, an idiot? Of course, that's not possible. I mean, Elon's latest company, the Boring Company, tunneling under, LA to New York, that's insane. That's a crazy idea. Guess what? I'd invest in it. Hyperloop. I'm a founding board member of Hyperloop One. We're building 1,200 kilometer per hour evacuated tunnels to go up and down the coast across the world. It's a crazy idea. But you have to have the place, the safe place where you can go and talk to your friends and hang out and have conversations about crazy ideas, because that's where genius comes from. How many of you are satisfied with 80 years old for the rest of your life? How many would like 120, 150? Anybody here not want a longer, healthier life? Anybody? I want to know who you are. I want to trade some years against you. So one of the things that's happening right now, and I'm an entrepreneur right now. I'm working on my 19th company, and I love starting companies. It's what I do. It's my joy. My last couple of companies have been in the longevity space. My mission is to give you an extra 30 to 40 healthy years on your life. You're welcome. Yes. The goal is, how do we make 100 years old than you 60? And guess what? The longer you live, the longer you're going to live. What does that mean? So I'll use another Ray Kurzweilism. Ray talks about longevity escape velocity. It's a point in which for every year that you're alive, science is extending your life by more than a year. Okay, so his prediction, and I believe him because the work that I'm doing, is that that's going to be within the next 20 years. So your job is not to die from something stupid the next 20 years. You got me? So I spend a lot of time with my Abundance 360 community as the forward-looking radar on longevity. I'm studying every startup, every company. I've got 2 companies started, a third one on the way. Human Longevity, HLI, we scan you come in, we scan you head to toe from MRI, looking at millimeter precision in your body. We do your genome, your coronary, your microbiome, your metabolome. We generate 150 gigabytes of data about you. And we tell you, is there anything going on with your body right now? And you do this every year, right? Because when you end up in the hospital sick, God forbid, it didn't happen that morning. It's been going on for some time, but you just didn't know about it, right? I have 2 airplanes I fly. I have my Teslas. They have hundreds of microprocessors, hundreds of sensors. And if anything is out of a little aberration, I know about it immediately. What about you and me? Our refrigerators are better wired than we are. That's going to change. And so the vision here that we're implementing with HLI is an annual membership where you go and every year you're checked out, and you say, okay, nothing's going on. If something's going on, you should say, thank you for finding it because I can fix it now. And from your genomics, what are you likely to die from? Okay, I'm not saying we aren't going to avoid death yet, but work in that way. But what are you likely to die from? And then find it at the beginning at stage 0 and prevent it. So, and then Cellularity is a stem cell company. One of the largest stem cell companies in the world, because stem cells are how we rejuvenate our body. So much going on. And I spend a lot of time focusing on these areas because I care about it. I've got 2 6-year-old boys. I want to see my great-great-grandchildren. All right. So I want to talk about the evidence for abundance. See, all this exponential technologies, computers, sensors, networks, AI, robotics, 3D printing, synthetic biology, blockchain, all of these things are changing the world. And while we're watching the news every day and letting what the editors of CNN or the LA Times want to put on their papers, it's infecting our brain. And I do not watch the news. I do not read newspapers. I will not give them the privilege of them changing my mindset. Right? Because honestly, you know, the news media is a drug pusher. And negative news is their drug. And on everything we see and hear all the time, every day, we get this negative barrage of news. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying it's not balanced, right? There's no one standing outside LAX this morning saying, no airplane crash here today. No school shooting here today. So all you hear is the bullshit and the negative news from around the world delivered on these devices all day. And how's that going to make you feel? You know, their job is to deliver your eyeballs to their advertisers. And we pay 10 times more attention to negative news than positive news. It was an evolutionary benefit back then. Because you'd find a piece of bad news, you'd run away. Miss a piece of good news, too bad. So I look at the data. I want to share some of the data with you. I want you to be excited about the future, not fearful about the future. We're heading towards a world of incredible magic, where we can meet the needs of every man, woman, and child, and we can make our biggest, grandest moonshots happen. So let's look at some evidence for abundance. This is what's happened over the last 200 years. We've gone from a world of 94% extreme poverty down to 10%. Yeah, all right. We've gone global literacy from 12% around the world over 200 years to 85%. This one hits me and should hit each of you. I want you to imagine a world 200 years ago where it was a coin flip of whether your kid survived. 45% mortality rate for children under 5. Can you imagine what it feels like to say, you know, of these 6 kids, 3 are going to die? There are cultures where they did not name their children before the age of 5 because it hurt less. 4% is still too high. If you're worried about overpopulation, don't be. A lot of my friends in Silicon Valley are worried about underpopulation of planet Earth. Look at this. In 1950s, over 100 countries had an average of 6 or more kids per family. Look at that rapid decrease in profundity. You know what's causing it? 2 things. You make a population better educated and healthier, growth rates plummet. And guess what? These devices will educate the world. We have a $15 million Global Learning XPRIZE. I'm proud to be the chairman of the XPRIZE Foundation. Our Global Learning XPRIZE is funded by Tony Robbins and Elon Musk and a number of other individuals. And we asked teams around the world to build a piece of software that can take a child in the middle of no place, from illiteracy to basic writing, reading, and numeracy in 18 months on their own. No adults, no schools, no teachers. We had 700 teams enter that competition. We're going to be announcing next week the 5 finalists. Those 5 finalists go on 8,000 tablets that Google gave us, and those 8,000 tablets go to Tanzania. And we're going to measure which of those software packages teach the students, their families, the villages the best, and then we open source it. So we have 1 billion teachers manufactured per year. Thank you. For all of human history, the human lifespan was in roughly 30 years old. You would grow to age 13, at which point you'd go into puberty and you'd have a baby. And then your baby would grow to age 13, at which point you were 26. And the best thing you could do to keep your selfish gene going is not take food out of your grandkid's mouth. Back when food was scarce, before Whole Foods came around, like 100,000 years ago, the best thing you could do was die by age 30 so you weren't stealing food from your grandkids. And so the average human life was 30 years old. But we've doubled it. We've doubled it from prevention of certain diseases, from better sanitation, from germ theory. We're about to double it again. Look at this chart. This is deaths due to natural catastrophes. 1900 down. Look what happens in 1960, 1970, where it plummets. Why is that? We've got satellites in space. We've got better sensors. We've got computer models. Saving warnings, saving lives. Do you know that we're living during the most peaceful time ever in human history? Is that kind of a surprise to some of you? That's what the numbers are. We are living during the most peaceful time ever in human history. Your chance of dying a violent death today are 1/500th of what they used to be. We romanticize the past. We forget about how terrible it was from plagues and famine and warfare. Pretty amazing, huh? So why is this happening? Why are we, having such success on feeding people, on literacy, on reducing growth rate pressures, on, reducing violence? It isn't that we've gotten smarter. It's not better politicians, I can assure you that. It's the impact of exponential technologies. It's the impact of technologies that feed the world, clothe the world, train and educate the world. And these things are not slowing down. So I don't want to fool you to say that the future is rosy. We're going to have terrorism. We're going to have war. We're going to have all kinds of things. Right? Over the last 110 years, I would argue that the world has gotten better at an extraordinary rate, even while we had World War I and World War II and the Spanish flu and the Vietnam War and all those things. I want to close by saying the technologies that I'm passionate about, that I do my work through XPRIZE, through Singularity University, through Abundance 360, are the technologies that are going to empower you to make your dreams come true. What I teach is that the world's biggest problems are the world's biggest business opportunities. Want to become a billionaire? Help 1 billion people. Right? That's the world we can create. That's the world I think we're obligated to create. You can do both. You can be successful and make the world a better place. I just want you, when someone says, oh my God, the world is terrible, we should not bring up kids in this world, call bullshit. We're living during the most extraordinary time ever in human history. We're creating a world in the near future where we're going to meet the needs of every man, woman, and child on this planet. That's where we're heading. And you have a choice. You can sit back and relax, right? We're demonetizing everything. Autonomous electric Ubers are going to be 10 times cheaper than owning a car. Electricity is going through the floor with solar. You can relax, sit back, like my dear friend Brendan said, put on Netflix. Or you can make a commitment to go make a difference, to use these extraordinary technologies to find your massively transformative purpose, your moonshot, and go and make those things happen. An honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you.